during my research for this part 12, dealing with the Internet of Everything, 5G. You also see the 29-minute mark in this film. They use these mosaics, but they get so many millions of megapixels they can zoom in, but they're essentially made up of the little chips on your cell phone. During all the research, I've uncovered the hidden items that are in televisions, appliances, refrigerators, dishwashers, ovens, so that they'll connect with the 5G. This show will explain most of that to you. I believe one of the theories was it came about with the energy stickers. To get the federal government standard, they mandated these companies put this backdoor technology so that they could listen in. So they've got like built-in microphones and transmitters so that when the internet came through, they could upload the data that they collect. Again, I've mentioned it before, reverse speech. If there's nothing to it, then why do they want to hear what you're saying all the time? I also want to reiterate for all those people I formerly referred to as curveballers, I want you to keep in mind when the man mentions that the UAV is the perfect platform for this system, why wouldn't the satellites be a better platform? You'd get a larger field of view. As I've stated, there is no satellites, so that's the reason they use UAVs. Also remember, a few years back there was one of those tethered, what do you want to call it? It was a U.S. Navy blimp that's tethered. If you all recall when George Bush Jr. was stating he was going to have these all over to monitor, why would they need these again if we have satellites? Must question everything.
But understand what they say at the end in this document is exactly what I'm trying to preach. And that is to expose them. Because they know if they are exposed that they lose all power over the rest of us. They know if they're exposed that there's more of us than there are of them. That's why we have to continue to take action and get the message out in the name of Yahweh, our Father in heaven, in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and in the name of the Holy Spirit. Pray to the Holy Spirit to come to you, to give you strength to overcome this, to give you courage to speak out against this. Many people will say you're crazy. Many people will say you've lost your mind. What does Jesus tell his disciples? In Matthew 10:14, whoever does not receive you, nor heed your words as you go out of that house or that city, shake the dust off your feet. Okay? What's the Lord saying? To move on. Keep going. There will be people who reject the gospel of Jesus Christ. There will be people that reject this awakening process to see that we're living in the end times and that the satanic system, the Antichrist system, is in full effect. Okay? This isn't just about exposing the Illuminati and exposing these people. It's about getting the scriptures out there. It's about getting people back with Jesus Christ. Okay? And showing them what's going on. Look what's going on. And look who told us this was going to happen. Our amazing Father, Yahweh in heaven, warned us of what would go on in the end times. To show them Christ's message of love and forgiveness, but also about being vigilant in the scriptures. Okay, there is a way to overthrow it. There is. There's some people out there who just want to wait for the end times to come and for Jesus to return. I understand that completely. My take on it is that there's way too many souls, misled souls that are going down the wrong path, that have fallen for this atheist lifestyle, this satanic lifestyle, this belief in science over Yahweh. And they've been misled. They've created a system of trickery and lies to lead people away from our Father, and we have to get them back.
There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the Information Purification Directives. We have created, for the first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology, where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests of their contradictory thoughts. Purification of thoughts is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people, with one will, one resolve, one cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death, and we will bury them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
The AI in a single controller wants and is getting cameras and ways to monitor everyone, everywhere, 24/7, 365.
These commuters are unaware. Their every move is being watched by next-generation surveillance cameras.
We can pass in the vehicles and tell what type of vehicles it is, and also it could detect the bicyclist, motorcyclist, and even recover their trajectory.
Dr. Xu runs SenseTime, a company helping China make surveillance cameras smarter.
We provide the embedded system that put AI technology inside the camera to help the camera to recognize face, recognize objects, and actually turning original video streams into structured data.
This includes real-time crowd analysis and even mood analysis. And China is the perfect testing ground. At this convenience store, registered customers enter with facial recognition. They buy items using their phones.
I like this store because I hate staff following me around.
It's more direct.
It's convenient.
Stores like these are symbols of what China calls smart cities. Incheon in Ningxia has become a model example. Here residents enter compounds with face recognition and track buses on their phones before leaving home. Transport can then be optimized based on user data.
They can take masses of user data and also other state data, like private company data, and figure out ways to make cities more livable, but also make cities more secure.
Under the banner of security and convenience, China's government now has data on almost all of its tech-savvy citizens, and technology for the most part has made cities better. Concerns, however, arise when technology itself begins to govern.
And that's already happening. Alibaba's Sesame credit system uses purchasing data to rate people's integrity, and it may offer a glimpse at a more sinister future. By 2020, China hopes to roll out a nationwide government-controlled credit rating scheme, in which people may be scored based on measurements like how quickly they repay loans and whether or not they jaywalk. Dan Epstein, TRT World, Beijing.
How much does your face say about you? Because it's about to launch 1,000 new applications.
A road diverges in the desert. Lexus. The road you're on, John Anderton, is the one less traveled. Make sure you follow
Good evening. You can move the old-fashioned John Anderton. Provides gourmet cuisine. John Anderton. You could use a Guinness right about now. Stressed out, John Anderton.
Escape from it all, Harrison. Get away, John Anderton. Forget your troubles.
Hello, Mr. Yakamoto. Welcome back to the Gap. How those assorted tank tops work out for you?
Mr. Yakamoto.
for? Did you come back for another pair of those chamois lace-ups?
Already, some digital screens in Australia use facial recognition to show ads based on age and gender. The systems don't store personally identifying data, but beyond that, companies are refusing to comment. It's clearly a sensitive topic.
It's a very new industry. There are a lot of issues, both technology issues, but also issues to do with community acceptance and privacy that still need to be sorted out. Some of those issues are still very new, so issues to do with legislation and what people need to tell other people and transparency. Best practice is that people should be notified if their biometrics are being collected and if their biometrics are being matched.
But there's so much more in the pipeline than just ads.
The system is now searching for faces. Searching, searching. There, it's recognised me.
Okay, what happens when I walk in though? The system's never come across me before, as far as I know.
Entrepreneur Professor Brian Lovell has been developing cutting-edge facial recognition software for US and Australian security services.
This is what's called a non-cooperative system, meaning that it will get your identity without you necessarily knowing about it.
Now he wants to take it to the mass consumer market. He'll be loading his software into the latest augmented reality glasses from US company ODG. It will match who you see against a database of images and information.
So this whole system can be put onto a mobile or wearable device. So here I have some augmented reality glasses, and we have face recognition on these. So the same system on a set of glasses.
Built into it?
Yes, and if I stick these on, this gives you a full 3D heads-up display of the world, and you can use this to recognise faces. It puts a little box around your face and says this is the person I'm looking at, and some other information perhaps, like this person is late for a flight, or this person wants to order a cappuccino. You can have thousands of faces in it.
And what databases could it draw on?
Any face databases.
Like police databases, shopping databases, anything?
Passenger lists, these sorts of things, customer lists.
Look at all of the stuff that's going on this stoplight right here. You have the regular traffic camera that's farthest to the left there in your view. Then on the pole you have an eye in the sky camera, which is 360 degrees. Then you have what looks like two different types of antenna.
Then a third one under the traffic light.
Then there's another camera. And you've also got red light enforced traffic cameras, which are photo enforced, so they take your picture. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 regular cameras that I can see, plus what,
several antennas.
At least 2 eye in the sky cameras and several antennas. I mean, how many spy devices does society need to have on you at one traffic light?
You can tell how much it's cropped up. It's not even neatly kept. It's all just thrown on there.
There's more of them all over all these other ones too. All of them have cameras on them. It's insane. We are the most surveilled society on the planet. Look at this. How many different angles of my face are they going to get when I drive through this intersection? We are being spied on so much that when the Bilderberg Group last year asked, does privacy exist? It was a rhetorical question. They know it doesn't exist. Exactly. It was like, mwah, does your privacy exist? No, obviously they know it doesn't. Look at that. Look at that. Look at how much that is. That's insane. While in the background, someone is getting pulled over with multiple police cars over here. 3 cop cars to pull one guy over. Look at that. This is the world that we live in, you guys. We're like monkeys in an open-air cage. That's all there is to it.
What is it? It looks like a bell or something.
Yeah, what is that? I don't know what these things are anymore. And what about these mesh networks?
Well, they're putting up mesh networks in a lot of cities now. I read about Seattle. It's probably in other places where they're recording cell phone location data from every intersection, and they have Wi-Fi hotspots that show up on the network sometimes let's say, First Street and the cross section, Second Street and the cross section, and they're pinging drivers' cell phone location data without a warrant, of course, and routing it through a mesh network back through all the host of 8 or 9 or 10 law enforcement agencies, through the fusion centers where the FBI and Homeland Security work, and they're keeping data on absolutely everything in real time.
Oh my God, the phone just turned back on.
We've seen cell phones tracked on TV dramas like Criminal Minds.
Got it, it's just west of here, less than half a mile.
The police use similar methods to catch criminals. You can even track your friends on your own cell phone with their permission on a special app. But new reports now say the National Security Agency is running a massive program to track the locations of hundreds of millions of cell phones around the world. According to the Washington Post, the NSA collects nearly 5 billion cell phone location records a day. That's almost 58,000 records of call information and other data per second. The Post cites intelligence officials and documents provided by NSA leaker Edward Snowden. The NSA does it, the Post reports, to find unknown associates of people it's targeting for surveillance, people called co-travelers.
Let's say they're interested in tracking somebody represented here by the red dot, and they can tell where they are by accessing 3 different cell towers. As that person moves around a path, a certain number of people are going to be following the same general direction. As they move, fewer and fewer people are going down the same exact path. And say fewer people are there, and by the time they get to one other location, there's only one person who's been traveling the same path, and that's that green dot right there, the fellow traveler.
And they can track when 2 people arrive at the same location from different directions more than once. Cell phones are always emitting location signals even when you're not making a call, sometimes even when your phone's not turned on. A senior U.S. intelligence official tells CNN the NSA's phone location records collection is focused on foreign targets overseas. But the cell phone locations of innocent people, including Americans overseas, could be incidentally caught up in these sweeps, even though the NSA is not allowed to spy on Americans. A privacy advocate calls this an intrusive dragnet.
Location data reveals some of the most personal and private aspects of our lives. If we go to an abortion clinic or we go to an AA meeting, location data captures that, even if we're not telling anyone that we're going to those meetings.
The NSA would not comment on the Post report, but a senior U.S. intelligence official tells us the program operates so that a minimum amount of innocent American cell phone location data is caught up in this, and that it's removed from the database when it is collected. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
Imagine pinpointing your student's location while at school.
It'll be a reality at 2 Northside schools next year. The district has approved a tracking device for students. Joe Conger joins us live from NISD headquarters with the story. Joe.
Deborah, that's right. For about $10 to $15, these students will be able to get an ID that acts kind of like GPS for teachers and administrators.
Every parent wants us to know where their child is at school.
The 1,200 Cougars at Jones Middle School are about to get tagged.
It's going to give us the opportunity to track our students in the building.
Northside School District is piloting a program in the fall here and at Jay High School, a program that tracks students' movement through the halls and classrooms by radio frequency technology.
They may have been in the nurse's office, the counseling office, vice principal's office, but they were marked absent from the classroom because they weren't sitting in the classroom. So it will help us have a more accurate count of our attendance.
And attendance is everything. The district loses $175,000 a day in state funding because of tardy or absent kids. Tracking the ones that just didn't make it to first period may be a big payoff. And the RIFD chip promises to be student user friendly too.
Not just locating a student, but also checking out books out of the library, getting your food out of the cafeteria, access to a computer lab, etc.
I'm excited about that. It's almost like having a college ID again.
Despite a startup cost of more than $500,000, Northside officials say the chips implanted in the students' ID badges will pay for themselves. The district bean counters expect to gain more than $250,000 in attendance revenue from the state and more than $1 million from Medicaid because the district will be tracking special needs kids too. And Big Brother will have his limitations because that tracking will not be able to happen outside of the walls of those campus buildings or on those special needs buses. Reporting live, Joe Conger, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.
Do you know what kind of meter you have in your home? No, this isn't just my nerdy curiosity. This is actually something that you should be considering. Over recent years, there's been a huge push by energy companies working in conjunction with the government to install smart meters. What's a smart meter? Well, it's an electric meter that energy corporations allege will streamline how power consumption is monitored in your home. Check it out.
I'm Bob from Woodland, and this is my power. I used to watch my bill only once a month when it came in, and it got so high I thought I was powering a street light out front. Then I got the smart meter. They have a whole lot of little graphs that tell you on an hourly basis how much energy you're using. I show that to the family. I said, do you see this spike? That means a lot of money, so let's bring that spike down. Our family now is trained. We're not using them. Pull the plugs. That's why in my house, I'm known as the energy cop.
Energy cop, huh? Sounds terrifying, and actually not too far off from reality. Now get this. Power companies have been sending people to homes across the country to switch out the old analog meters for these brand new, all-digital smart meters. Remember that little guy that used to come to your house to measure your energy usage? They'd write it down on a little notepad and then send you a bill at the end of the month. Well, that little guy is out of a job. He's been replaced with smart meters equipped with RF chips, technology that allows power companies to monitor these devices without actually ever coming to your home. So just how smart are they? Well, not only do they rapidly record information by the hour, but they can determine just what type of energy you're using. Think about that for 1 second. It may not seem like too much intrusion, but consider this. Energy corporations will have precise data on your daily routines, when you wash your clothes, when you watch TV, when you leave your home, and when you come back. And if the notion that they know what you're doing and when you're doing it isn't disturbing enough, it gets worse. Because these devices are also capable of controlling, regulating, and even rationing your energy use. Take this for example. You're running your AC during those hot summer months, and the power company decides that you're using just a little too much power. Well, they can take it upon themselves to lower it, regardless of if you're willing to pay more for that extra usage. Another point to consider is what these companies can do with this information. Once they share it with law enforcement, it can, and believe me, it will be used against you. Cops will be able to know just what you're doing at all times in the privacy of your own home. Hey, who needs a telescreen when you have a smart meter? Secondly, these corporations can sell this information about our daily lives for data mining and advertising. It's disturbing on so many levels. Yet, these little surveillance units are being implemented across the country without the public's consent, and in many cases without their knowledge that they're even being installed. And it's leading to an array of problems. Check it out.
This is a smart meter. It uses electromagnetic frequency to send DTE information about power use. This gets rid of the need for meter readers and notifies the power company about outages. But some say such meters are making them sick.
I couldn't understand why I was feeling so foolish.
First, a warning.
And so I came back and tried to put my hand in front of him like this.
Then a scuffle.
And he just kept pushing me away and pushing me away. And
what was the guy after?
This meter.
Yep, an electric meter.
He wanted to replace it with the new one like this, a so-called smart meter.
Problem was, Thelma Taormina wanted to keep her old one. She had put up warning signs to leave it alone. But the worker wouldn't listen, so Taormina grabbed her gun.
Her lights are out. Her electric meter has stopped spinning. But this is not due to a storm or for failing to pay her bill. It's because this self-employed photographer has refused to allow a new smart meter in her home. Result, a lineman pulled up and disconnected her from the grid.
Yes, companies are actually threatening to shut off your power if you refuse to allow a smart meter to be installed in your home. Look, guys, it may seem like you don't have a choice in this, but these meters are not mandatory yet. You don't have to subject yourself to unknown health risks or increased utility costs. You most certainly don't have to give up your privacy to private corporations. What you have to do is be bold enough to say no.
Hey everybody, Peter with The Verge, and we're taking another look at the Samsung Family Hub, which, if you haven't guessed, is a refrigerator with a giant touchscreen. We saw this announced at CES this year in Las Vegas, and now we actually get to use the thing, and it's not just in demo mode. Let me tell you about it. It's running on Tizen. It's got this big 1080p touchscreen, and it does a bunch of stuff that you would expect a family gadget to do. So we open this thing up, and it's like your family calendar, and you can put photos on it, whatever. Hit this crazy home button on this insane Android-like button row, but it's actually running Tizen. Go back home. The coolest thing is MasterCard has made an app that can shop from FreshDirect or ShopRite or a few other grocery stores, so you can order groceries directly from the fridge. So you can add stuff to the cart. There's also a smartphone app that goes along with it, so you can look at your cart from your smartphone and you can just go shopping. We'll go back home again. It's got Pandora, so there's speakers somewhere inside this thing. There's another button here, View Inside. If I hit that, I'm looking at a picture of the stuff inside the fridge. What they do is they have cameras that are hidden right here in the door, and every time you close the fridge, the cameras take a picture, so you can, from your smartphone or from the insane touchscreen on the door, look at what happened in your fridge. So we'll close that, give it a tick, and this image will refresh with the stuff I just moved around inside the fridge, but we're not gonna wait for it. So in terms of like raw power, you don't buy a giant touchscreen fridge because it's got awesome specs, but maybe you buy it because you want to draw on it. Other things I can show you on this fridge, it does have voice control, so you can turn that on and off, but that's not working on this unit right now. You can also slide over to get a bunch of other stuff. You can't add your own apps to it, but it's got these apps built in. You can mirror your television, so whatever's playing on your Samsung TV will play on this thing. You can just go to the internet. It gives us a phone layout on a giant screen. You can, of course, do fridge things. So if we open up the Fridge Manager app, you can change the temperature settings for each section. You can turn off the door alarm. You can turn on the ice maker, and you can look at recipes. There you go. It's the Samsung Family Hub Smart Fridge. If you like ridiculous things, I don't see how you don't love this thing. If you want to see more videos of ridiculous things, you should check out Circuit Breaker at The Verge, and of course The Verge on YouTube. You should subscribe to us or at youtube.com/The Verge.
I'm in the kitchen with a rather unusual guest. I'm here with Alexa. This is Alexa in the form of an Amazon Echo. It's a personal voice assistant from Amazon. It works with hundreds of different products out there, but this is the first time that she's ever come into the kitchen to help out. And that's thanks to a set of skills that GE Appliances developed called Geneva. They let you do everything from check to see how long is left in the dishwasher, if the laundry's done, if the dishes are clean. But why should I tell you what she can do when she can speak for herself? Alexa, start Geneva.
Hi, I'm Geneva. I can control your appliances, or you can ask me for help. What would you like to do first?
Alexa, tell Geneva to preheat the oven at 350 degrees.
I've set your oven to bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
Alexa, ask Geneva how much time's left on the dishwasher.
Your dishwasher is preparing to wash with 1 hour 51 minutes remaining.
Now, the way that GE was able to make this happen is they already had a suite of connected appliances. They already had Wi-Fi connectivity in them, so they added in the voice recognition part, and now they work with possibly what is one of the most popular smart home devices that's hit the market ever.
So voice has been something on our radar for quite some time because we saw the value of having the extra hand in the kitchen. Your hands are always dirty. Being able to speak to a device instead of having to go wash them or touch the device and then have to clean it later. So voice really expands what you can do in the kitchen.
Alexa, tell Geneva to set a cook timer for 10 minutes.
Got it. Your oven's kitchen timer has been set for 10 minutes.
Alexa, tell Geneva I want cookies.
You'd like me to set your oven bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for cookies, right?
That's right.
I've set your oven to bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for cookies.
Another cool thing about the setup is because the Wi-Fi is already built in and because the Amazon cloud setup is already existent, new skills might be able to come along. So there might be a day in the future that you can customize a recipe. It's not necessarily grounded to right now, it's a bit future-proof as well because it's based on this Amazon technology. It's actually pretty easy to get it all working. If you're shopping for appliances, go to geappliances.com. You'll get a list of all the connected products that will work with this new Alexa skill. Once you buy it, you just have to download an app, connect it to your Wi-Fi network one time, download the skill to Alexa, and then you can start talking to your oven.
The OnStar Stolen Vehicle Slowdown feature is a tremendous product for the law enforcement community.
My officers have worked with OnStar many times in the past to stop stolen vehicles. The OnStar equipment is very helpful in slowing those cars down and stopping my officers and citizens from being injured.
When we're ready to make a stop, OnStar can slow the vehicle down. That way we're not chasing the vehicle at a high rate of speed. It doesn't put the public in danger or us in danger. It makes our job a lot easier.
Anytime that we can have high-speed pursuits eliminated and also still take care of the criminal justice system and put crooks in jail and take care of the citizens, I fully support.
This is the next generation of surveillance. For the first time, we actually have permission from the government to show the basic capabilities. It is important for the public to know that some of these capabilities exist.
Engineer Yanis Antoniadis designed the new sensor, known as Argus. With 1.8 billion pixels, it's the world's highest resolution camera. Argus fits inside this pod that attaches to the belly of a UAV. But because much of the work is classified, we can't see the sensor itself.
Because we are not allowed to expose some of the pieces that make up the sensors, so you get to look at pretty plastic curtains.
Also known as Wide Area Persistent Stare, Argus is the equivalent of having up to 100 predators look at an area the size of a medium-sized city at once. This image was taken 17,500 feet above Quantico, Virginia, and covers 15 square miles.
This whole image is at a very, very fine resolution. So if we wanted to know what is going on in any spot along this image, say near this building at this intersection, we can generate a moving image that shows what's going on in the area.
Simply by touching the screen, Antoniadis has opened up a window showing a detailed area, while still maintaining the broader context.
And everything that is a moving object is being automatically tracked. The color boxes represent that the computer has recognized the moving objects. You can see individuals crossing the street. You can see individuals walking in parking lots. There's actually enough resolution to be able to see the people waving their arms or walking around, what kind of clothes they wear. And you could pick the location of where you produce these images anywhere in the entire field of view.
Antoniadis can open up to 65 windows at once and can see objects as small as 6 inches on the ground.
From even 17,500 feet, the white thing that you see flying around is a bird.
Argus streams live to the ground and also stores everything, 1 million terabytes of video a day, which is the equivalent of 5,000 hours of high-definition footage.
So you can go back and say, I would like to see what happened at this particular location 3 days, 2 hours, 4 minutes ago, and it would actually show you exactly what happened as if you were watching it live.
To create the world's highest definition camera, Antoniadis needed to design a new imaging chip. But DARPA, the project's funder, wanted to move fast and keep costs down. So he borrowed technology that most people have in their pockets.
Inside this cell phone, okay, we find a tiny little camera. So if you were to take off the majority of it, you'd be left with an imaging chip. If you were to take 368 of these and make a big mosaic out of them and start shooting images, now you have Argus.
Unlike the Predator camera that limits field of view, Argus melds together video from each of its 368 chips to create a 1.8 billion pixel video stream. This makes it possible to zoom in and still see tremendous detail. Whether Argus has been deployed in the field is classified.
I'm not at liberty to discuss plans with the government, but if we had our choice, we would like Argus to be over the same area 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not very easily achievable with manned platforms. This is where UAVs come in, and they're absolutely the perfect platform.
Argus may be mounted on an armed UAV like the Predator, a long-range platform like the giant Global Hawk, or a development craft called the Solar Eagle that may someday stay aloft for years at a time.
The U.S. Air Force right now has the ability to archive every single video that comes off of every single UAV. We're moving to an increasingly electronic society where our movements are going to be tracked.
And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the night.
Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun channel. There's a book called Between Two Ages written by technocrat Zbigniew Brzezinski, who just recently passed away. This was written in 1970, and here's what he said in it, quote, "The changes wrought by communications and computers make for an extraordinarily interwoven society whose members are in continuous and close audiovisual contact, constantly interacting, instantly sharing the most intense social experiences, and prompted to increase personal involvement in even the most distant problems. The new generation no longer defines the world exclusively on the basis of reading, either of ideologically structured analysis or of extensive descriptions. It also experiences and senses it vicariously through audiovisual communications. The new reality, however, will not be that of a global village. A more appropriate analogy is that of the global city, a nervous, agitated, tense, and fragmented web of interdependent relations. That interdependence, however, is better characterized by interaction than by intimacy. Instant communications are already creating something akin to a global nervous system. Occasional malfunctions of this nervous system, because of blackouts or breakdowns, will be all the more unsettling precisely because the mutual confidence and reciprocally reinforcing stability that are characteristics of village intimacy will be absent from the process of that nervous interaction." End quote. One of the things I said during the election of 2016 was that both sides of the aisle completely ignored the topic of transhumanism and the technological enslavement program. A big part of that plan is in the UN Sustainable Development Agenda. Now, President Trump has moved away from some of the elements here, primarily the TPP, which was the work of the traditional globalists, as well as the climate change deal, which again was part of the same old globalist elite. And many of us thought that that was a good thing, and truly, that is a good thing, but there are still concerns. With Trump having plans to make America great again, I'm trying to stay level and be cautious about what that means, because it might inadvertently help other areas of the UN 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda to develop. And I'm specifically talking about this new rat race being played between nations, the one involving technological infrastructure that supports Web 3.0 with tools like 5G, more AI integration, the blockchain, and the Internet of Things really coming online. These developments will only help increase the power of already highly developed public technology like the Large Hadron Collider at CERN in Geneva, Switzerland, and the numerous particle accelerators around the world. And of course, we can't forget the Vatican, who owns the most sophisticated telescope, ironically, or perhaps not, named Lucifer. The world of politics is absolutely insane right now. The lunatic liberal left has been exposed as open fascists and political hypocrites. The alt-right is being drawn into the drumbeats of civil war as a reactionary stance against the illogical baiting of the lunatic left. But between the transmission from InfoWars and MSM storylines that distract us to no end are the continued developments of the real New World Order. A big part of this ministry has been a warning of what's coming. It's being touted as the fourth industrial revolution, and like the life cycle of a butterfly from egg to caterpillar to chrysalis and finally the fourth transition into a beautiful butterfly. This stage of the technological revolution is poised to be a deal breaker for many of us. Now let me be clear, technology itself is not evil or good, but the intention of those constructing it all around us don't have our best interest in mind. This technological infrastructure for a global currency, massive surveillance, Internet of Things, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, DNA databases, smart dust, smart cities, nanobots, bioengineering, virtual and augmented realities, implantable technologies, and much, much more are going to be extremely invasive. On September 23, 2015, the first Jesuit Pope stood in front of the United Nations in New York to announce Agenda 2030 for the United States. Within the publicly available documents of the UN 2030 Agenda were the bare facts about the human enslavement program written in positive socialistic appeal. But as usual, it's not always what they tell us, but what they don't tell us that drives forward our enslavement. A year later, on September 23, 2016, nothing noteworthy happened except for NASA, never a straight answer, publishing this nonsense propaganda about Mars.
While it will be years before the first astronauts go to Mars, a new exhibit at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex in Florida can take you on a virtual field trip there now. Apollo 11 astronaut Buzz Aldrin helped introduce Destination Mars, a mixed reality experience designed by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and Microsoft HoloLens, a fully self-contained holographic computer. The limited-time exhibit, which uses real imagery taken by NASA's Mars Curiosity rover and enables users to explore the Martian surface, runs through January.
And now, coming up on September 23, 2017, the celestial alignment that, per usual, is somewhat overblown by some as some sort of celestial signal for the end of the world, or dismissed too hastily by others, is interesting because it comes at a time when, again, massive changes in this infrastructure are beginning to take place. Now, one topic that's been discussed quite a bit recently is 5G. Max Egan was recently on SGT Report with Sean. Great interview. I'll leave a link to that. But as I started to dig in and look around YouTube, I found quite a bit of people concerned about 5G.
I've been a citizen living in this county for the last 30 years, and I have a question related to a health issue. I know the FCC has ruled out that the low radio frequency doesn't cause any kind of health effects. Myself worked for 30 years at EPA and did the risk assessment of chemicals and several agents. Even this low frequency is supposed to be low frequency, doesn't cause any kind of cancer. I will read, and you can read it yourself. You can go to Google. International Agency for Cancer Research has clearly said that the frequency, not necessarily coming out of cell towers, but likely to cause DNA damage. It's likely to cause cancer, specifically brain cancer, and more specifically in children. I'm concerned about the citizens of this county, the little kids that may be exposed to even low frequency or a short-term exposure versus a long-term exposure. I think the county has a responsibility to get the correct ruling on this. Even the FCC is not a health agency. Keep that in mind. Read the FCC is not a health agency. FCC has fought over the EPA. EPA has not ruled into this. I know it. I work for the EPA. Go to the websites of all different federal agencies. There is equivocal data. The data is not clear. However, there are some positive studies and negative studies. I would urge, for the sake of this county's safety and health safety, county has to be responsible for making sure that there are no long-term effects of these frequencies on kids.
Just one point. The FCC is not a health agency, but it is a federal agency. And the problem for the county is that we are preempted. As much as we would like to or not concerned with that problem, we just cannot. The answer lies in changing the law of Congress. We can do lots of things within regulating it, but not on the basis of health.
My name is David Fialkoff. I live in North Potomac. I just want to briefly first preface this by saying to our council members, to our county employees who are paid by us to represent us, you've got a lot of angry, concerned people here, and the attitude we see from you is, oh, well, it's just business as usual, and there's nothing we can do. Can you please exhibit some concern? Look at the concern here. Look at all the emails you've been getting. Look at the explosion of concern about this. We'd like to see it from you and not this laid-back attitude.
I actually have a couple of questions. You know, when we want to do something, it seems like the EPA can come in and stop us from having anything done because of health issues. This gentleman over here who worked for the EPA is saying there's a possible health risk. Why aren't we going back to our council, our congressmen and our senators and saying, look, if the APA is saying that there's a problem here, they stop everything else. Why aren't our county councilors going to the EPA and saying, hold up, why can't we do a health assessment here and find out what the real health risks are to our children?
See another question over here.
Okay. Well, I'm one of the council members, and my colleagues are, look, we wish we could change the federal law.
My question is, given that there are health concerns, if there is a change in the law in the future, is there any provision that the county has at the moment that means that these poles either come down or are modified to address the new laws? There's all these issues with non-conforming use, so it's something that would, let's say, predate a law would not be covered under it. I want to make sure that if we're erecting something today and the laws change, we discover that there is actually a health concern, the FCC gets overruled in court, whatever happens, do these poles come down?
There is a provision in the franchise agreement for unused equipment to come down, and the real I think the gravamen of your question is if FCC changes their rules such that these things cannot operate, would we stop them and have they come down?
I was listening to all the presentations and 3 questions came to mind. Mr. Hartman mentioned for mobility, a very simple example of a flashlight that dispersed a beam. The first thing that came to my mind when you said these are smaller towers that have a more concentrated beam, when I was a kid, that's how we started a fire, by concentrating the energy. And so I would like just a very simple explanation why concentrating all this energy is not going to further increase the health risk. That we're all kind of talking that there already are radio waves. The question is, what is the level that is dangerous or not, which itself is a question. So I think talking about concentration kind of scares me a little bit. But the other thing that I wanted to ask is, it seems like everyone has said that it's a given that we have to have this in the neighborhood and we should come up with some regulations, some zoning, some suggestions. But I'm proposing, why do we have to accept it and find the areas within our community? Why can't we propose alternative non-residential locations that may serve the same purpose? If there's an issue, then we don't have to accept which house gets it. Maybe we have to find a way to solve the problem in a way that doesn't impact residential communities. And the third thing is, I want to know whether all of us here are guinea pigs. It seems like this is new technology. I want to know, have there been other areas where, towers have been put every 500, 1,000 feet or whatever, and have there been longitudinal epidemiological studies in those areas? Not they put it up yesterday and everyone is healthy today, but what's happened in 5, 10, 15, 20 years after poles have been put every 500 feet in a residential community? Do you have answers to any of those questions?
Sorry, I have to go on.
When are you going to take action on the GAO's recommendations to look at wireless radiation exposure standards?
Are we having a protest? Who says our conferences aren't fun and exciting?
Now, the FCC clearly don't have answers for this, and Tom Wheeler openly stated that they're going to push forward regardless of lack of research, regardless of any kind of resistance that might come up in this disturbing clip. Check this out.
I found myself in a situation that I never would have imagined when I became FCC chairman. I was in Dallas, Texas. I was at the helm of an excavator, a big piece of heavy machinery digging up dirt. And for those of you who want to picture that scene in your mind, yes, I was wearing a suit. I was also wearing a pair of virtual reality goggles, and I hadn't left the FCC. And while I may have been in Washington physically, I can tell you I was at the excavation site in Dallas, 1,400 miles away. I sat in the mock-up of the excavator, and I had complete control sensitivity to the equipment 1,400 miles away. We all know the difference in performance of a direct fiber connection compared to a wireless connection. The next generation of wireless must be mobile fiber, 10 to 100 times faster than what we're used to today. Latency needs to be less than 1 millisecond, less than 1/1000th of a second to provide for real-time interactions. Because if you're going to have that kind of high speed and low latency, you have to have the ability for digital information to race down broad chunks of spectrum. The driving force of the 21st century will be powerful processing centralized in the cloud and wirelessly connected to thin clients. Autonomous vehicles will be controlled in the cloud. Smart city energy grids, transportation networks, and water systems will be controlled in the cloud. Immersive education and entertainment will come from the cloud. But such futures won't come to pass unless the pathway to and from the cloud is low latency, ultra fast, and secure. I've listed some examples earlier, a moment ago, about what 5G makes possible. But if anyone tells you that they know the details of what 5G is going to become, run the other way. Because it is the capacity to use this new capability that will determine what our future looks like. Yes, 5G will connect the Internet of Everything. If something can be connected, it will be connected in the 5G world. But with the predictions of hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers, you can be sure of only one thing. The biggest Internet of Things application has yet to be imagined. The interconnected world of the future will be the result of decisions we must make today. And that is why 5G is a national priority. The United States will be the first country in the world to open up high-band spectrum for 5G networks and applications. And that's damn important, because it means that U.S. companies will be the first out of the gate. We will be repeating the formula that made the United States the world leader in 4G. It's a simple formula. Lead the world in spectrum availability, encourage and protect innovation driving competition, and stay out of the way of technological development. Unlike some countries, we do not believe that we should spend the next couple of years studying what 5G should be or how it should operate and how to allocate spectrum based on those assumptions. They tend to travel best in narrow and straight lines, and they do not go through physical objects as well. This means that very narrow signals in an urban environment tend to bounce around buildings and other obstacles, making it difficult to connect to a moving point. But brilliant engineers have developed new antennas that can aim and amplify signals, coupled with sophisticated processing that allows a moving device to pick up all of the signals that are bouncing around and create one coherent connection. Now, to make this work, the 5G build-out is going to be very infrastructure intensive, requiring massive deployment of small cells. But it also opens up unprecedented opportunities for frequency reuse in denser, more localized networks. The ability to use this high-frequency spectrum opens much bigger chunks of spectrum. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole providence of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners of our country. Cybersecurity issues must be addressed during the design phase of the entire 5G ecosystem, including devices. This will place a premium on collaboration amongst all stakeholders. We continue to prefer an approach that emphasizes that industry develop cybersecurity standards, just as we have done in the wired networks. But security is an essential component of where we go on networks, and we will have the ability to think about it first as a forethought rather than afterthought.
Now, I titled this video Trump's New World Order, and you might be wondering, well, why? Isn't Trump against this sort of thing? Isn't he against enslavement? I think in certain areas, yes. But think about what he said just recently at the West Virginia rally, where he openly talked about building more infrastructure, more jobs, etc., etc.
Finally, and you'll see very soon, but you're hearing about it, my administration is committed to rebuilding the depleted infrastructure of the United States. Think of it. We've spent $6 trillion in the Middle East, and the Middle East is 100 times worse than it was 16 years ago when we started. Can you believe this? What a shame. That is why we are pushing a $1 trillion new infrastructure investment bill. We're going to fix our roads. We're going to fix our bridges. We're going to fix our highways and our schools and our airports. We will create amazing monuments that inspire awe and wonder in our people. It used to be that way. It's not that way any longer. We have airports that look like third world countries. It's not going to be that way anymore. American workers will build this great future. And American energy and American clean coal will power this future. We are the nation that put a man on the moon, that dug out the Panama Canal, and that won 2 world wars. We can do anything, we can build anything, and we can dream anything.
The bottom line is that he is talking about the 4th Industrial Revolution and having the United States lead it. So yes, it is creating jobs. Yes, it is bringing back industry to the United States. But for what? What are we building? We're rebuilding everything to accommodate for the smart city, for the UN 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. Now, there's a weird twist to this as well. Pedogate, Pizzagate has been a very, very important subject for independent researchers. And we've recently seen reports of celebrities starting to come out and talk about their encounters with these pedophiles who actually run Hollywood, the music industry. We know they're in the Vatican. We know they're in the government. But as more people speak up about this and this topic is exposed, what is it creating? Well, on the one hand, if all these celebrities are doing it for the common good of man, then this is a good thing. More people need to realize that there's a problem with pedophilia in this country, in our institutions. But in the same way God uses all situations for good, I think the enemy uses all situations for bad. And the exposing of Pedogate and the pedophiles in our governments, in our institutions, might be the beginning of a larger enslavement program as part of this 4th Industrial Revolution, as part of this rebuilding infrastructure, as part of making America great again. Let me explain myself a little bit. Problem, reaction, solution. They used it in 9/11. They had the problem, which was 9/11, the terrorists. They had the reaction, we need to do something about it. And the solution, which is giving up more and more of our privacy in exchange for security Thank you, government, for looking over us, right? Well, in the same way, this pedo problem really does accelerate this fourth industrial revolution in this way. The problem: elite pedophiles run almost everything. Guys like John Podesta running around doing weird things. And there are some researchers here who all they say is John Podesta needs to be in jail. I agree 100%. I think a lot of people need to be in jail. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Huma Abedin, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. The list goes on and on and on. But once they're in jail, or if they even get to jail, so what? What then? Have we eradicated the problem? No, we haven't. So the problem of the elite pedophile ring will continue even if John Podesta goes to jail. The reaction? Citizen outrage. The more people realize this, the more people are going to speak up against it. Independent journalists, reporters have dedicated their time and energy to exposing pedogate, which is a good thing. Solution though. What is the solution? Now, at a very basic level, the solution is more awareness so that you don't put your children in jeopardy. But we know that governments and institutions always like to step in with their solution. Now, let me give you some excerpts here from the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. This is from 8.7, where it says, take immediate and effective measures to eradicate forced labor, end modern slavery and human trafficking, and secure the prohibition and elimination of the worst forms of child labor, including recruitment and use of child soldiers, and by 2025, end child labor in all its forms. So one of the plans of the agenda is to eliminate child trafficking. Interesting that the United Nations wants to be involved in this. This point is reiterated on 16.2, end abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of violence against and torture of children. But this is the kicker here. You keep going down. 16.8, broaden and strengthen the participation of developing countries in the institutions of global governance. 16.9, by the year 2030, provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. Legal identity for all. We just had one company start to actually make RFID implantable chips available for their employees. But digging more into this particular line item, they want to have everybody on a database by the year 2030. And Pedogate is a great way to get a lot of people to say, okay, you know what? I want my child to be accounted for. Let's put him or her in the system. Now, will that lead to microchipping children? I don't know. I don't think most people are going to accept that in the next 10 years. But with 5G technology, it is astronomically invasive in terms of the Internet of Things, everything connecting to the internet, but also us being trackable, identifiable, etc. Our privacy is gone. And again, I titled this video Trump's New World Order because Donald Trump, as much as I've been trying to root for the guy, was totally behind getting drones and 5G technology out into the masses. Watch this clip here.
So this fully autonomous drone works on behalf of John and the team at Woodard Construction. So John, if you want to say a little bit more to the president about how you've seen that experience been?
We have to go out in the field and survey. 25 years ago, we didn't even know what a cell phone was. 2 weeks of data collection. We look today and we can actually, just our life has kind of evolved around the technology. It's life-changing. This drone is life-changing. We're finding out daily, not in the quarry side of things, but in the construction side of things, and other uses. We've actually started 2 other businesses up off the same drone, just using it in a different way. So it's.
And yet right now drones are becoming very powerful too. I see where they're lifting people. I don't know about the level of safety there, but I see that. But also I guess they're going to be lifting very heavy material at some point.
Yeah, there's an initiative with other companies underway to effectively have delivery being done by drone. This drone in particular is about just being able to collect aerial intelligence in a seamless way and being able to deliver that to the user in a way that they weren't able to accomplish before. So John's able to get that work done in literally minutes after the drone flies, versus usually it would take him days of just manual labor to be able to accomplish that same work.
Fantastic job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Randall?
Yes, Mr. President, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about 5G technology in about 2 minutes, okay? Guys like Jeff M. Darius, Internet of Things, drones, autonomous cars are going to require a whole different level of speed and wireless networks. If you come over here, this is a residential neighborhood. If you want to get the kind of speeds required today, these lights are fiber. We have to take fiber to every one of these houses to get that kind of bandwidth. What 5G does, it says forget about all that fiber out here. Get fiber to this small cell, which Marcelo is going to show you here. This small cell will broadcast this kind of bandwidth to all these homes, okay? You no longer need to run fiber in here. So you can have speeds that are multiples of what the fastest cable technology can deliver today into the home with wireless technology. If you move into the city, what's happening? If you want to get that bandwidth in there, the same thing. Fiber run to every one of these buildings. It takes a long time digging up roads, bridges, and sidewalks and so forth. 5G says no longer. In fact, all you need are small cells inside the city, and we can light up these buildings here as well, right? And then as you move to Wi-Fi, we have Wi-Fi deployed in these buildings all over the place, so customers moving in and out of a Wi-Fi arrangement. You can see the old big cell technology sitting on top of buildings, broadcasting throughout the city. But down on the street level, the customer is being put on whatever network gives them the fastest speeds. This could be an autonomous car, it could be any number of things. And so as the car moves, it gets moved back and forth between the networks into another 5G deployment, and you're getting these kind of multiple gigabit speeds throughout cities without all the fiber having to be deployed into all these buildings. Really accelerates it, makes us get to the market much faster.
So 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you couldn't have even imagined
Wouldn't have
this.
thought about it. No, sir, we would not have. And this is 2018, we'll deploy this kind of configuration, and the companies in here are, and in 2020, it becomes mobile. And so this handset will be getting these speeds.
So there has to be a tremendous construction saving too, ultimately.
It's a huge construction saving. You don't have to deploy all this fiber. And you see this little cell site here. You're going from deploying these big cell sites and towers to deploying these all over cities. That's what Marcelo is going to show you, what this technology looks like now.
So, Mr. President, if I can summarize 5G, is $275 billion of investment in the next 7 years, the creation of 3 million new jobs, and a contribution of $500 billion to the GDP of the United States. What is different between 4G and 5G? 4G, those were enormous towers that look quite ugly. We're going to move to deploy millions of this, hundreds of thousands, and then millions of small cells all over the United States. The problem that we have is it takes us 1 year to get a city to give us a permit, but it takes us 1 hour to install them. And unless we can install them real fast, we're going to lose that leadership that we have today. Those huge towers, all it is now, is just a small cell. You put this on the utility poles, you put it in the cable strands, and that's all we need in order to enable. So when people ask about 5G,
But they're mostly local permits you need?
basically we run into trouble with cities, municipalities, counties. Each one has its own idea of how much they should charge, how long should it take.
How much is a federal permit? How long does that take?
Well, this mainly will go down to the cities. We're working quite well with the FCC.
Problems with certain cities.
There's some cities that takes 30 days, there's some cities that takes 2 years, so it's impossible to deploy. So this is why we need to fix this. And that's what 5G, when everybody talks about 5G.
Well, we can do a recommendation to the cities all over the country to get it going, and Gary, maybe they can move it faster. Because this is truly a great process, but why don't we do a very strong letter of recommendation so they can get it done much faster? We're doing that all over the country.
You know what? Shot clocks. The FCC at one time put in place to deploy these kind of cell sites. Yeah. Shot clocks. You have 180 days to get a permit done or taking a permit. Something similar is going to need to be done.
Well, we're doing that with highways. It would take sometimes 15 to 20 years to get permits to build a small road or a highway. And we're going to bring it down, trying to bring it down to 1 year, maximum 1 year. And you have the same thing. This is much easier.
So
this is really much easier, believe me.
The US is a leader in 4G. We launched 3G. And every country, China, Europe, is basically streamlining the process to get there faster.
So this will be going into many other countries? By other companies, by you? By
no, we only operate in the US, and our goal is to basically, we want the US to lead 5G because of the speed, because of the job creation.
You will if you can get your permits.
Absolutely.
China has much less trouble getting permits.
Central government. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, the folks here promoting the 5G technology are saying that they're having trouble getting permits to install these things because of legislation, certain cities, certain locations, taking much longer to allow these things to take place. And as you saw early on, there are certain communities that don't even want them or are highly skeptical of this sort of technology becoming part of their towns, their neighborhoods, because the way this works, they're going to have a lot more smaller pods instead of one giant tower to get the 5G technology to work effectively. And so the infrastructure is much more invasive. But here's Trump just saying, hey, here's what we can do. Let's write a letter of recommendation. Let's move this forward. Let's push this forward. And keeping that in mind with this idea that he's going to rebuild and create jobs and everything else, I'm just asking you guys to stay level-headed about this. I know there's a lot of Trump supporters. I know there's a lot of Trump haters. And the bottom line is, if you're a Trump supporter, I understand your perspective, but you got to face the facts here and see that he is also part of the system. And he is also building a part of the system that has not been discussed too much by too many people. And also that if you're a Trump hater, it doesn't mean you're necessarily a liberal, okay? There is a massive psychological operation taking place, and that's why I bring up Pedogate and Pizzagate as a possible psychological operation in order to create a solution that benefits the 2030 Sustainable Development UN agenda, which clearly does not have our best interest in mind. It is clearly what Zbigniew Brzezinski wanted in the technocracy. And of course, tie into all that the topic of blockchain, of cryptocurrencies, of the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, virtual realities, augmented realities, all the things that we touch on this channel. Those will be enhanced. They will become faster. They will become more prominent, more invasive. And so what I am proposing is that we all start to, if you haven't already, begin developing skills to be self-sustainable. That is, to live off the land, whether it's to have a small garden in your backyard or have mechanisms to get clean water. Just start moving in that direction if you haven't already, because that's the actual smart thing, not smart cities. And I'm not trying to sit here and be a fearmonger. I'm not trying to say, oh, it's all going to end, fear, fear, fear. Most likely, we are going to be using 5G tech, all right? But there has to be a way for us to get away from it. And if that means moving to an area where this infrastructure is not so invasive, we're going to have to think about that. Everybody has their own personal responsibility when it comes to this, your own personal convictions. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do. That's up to you. But it is important to start thinking about this, because by 2020, they want to roll out 5G. And 10 gigs per second upload speed is ridiculous and partly awesome. I get to download a 4K movie in a couple seconds instead of waiting an hour or whatever. But is that really worth it? Is that worth your sovereignty? Is that worth your freedom? Is that worth your privacy? Things to think about. Get a hard copy of the Bible if you don't have it already. That's going to be the most important thing as these things continue to develop, and the enslavement program and the prince of the power of the air continues to build the satanic kingdom on earth.
We are the global leader in 4G. We have 5% of the world's population, but 1/3 of its 4G deployment. But laurels are not good resting places, so I think we have to start moving on 5G. Because today, the bulk of our spectrum activity when it comes to mobile takes place at 3 gigahertz or below. But going forward, we are going to have to bust through that ceiling all the way up to 24 gigahertz, or perhaps even as high as 90 gigahertz. We are going to have to look to infinity and beyond. And then we're going to have to combine those stratospheric frequencies with dense networks of small cells. And if we do that right, we will have higher speeds with our wireless networks than we have ever seen before. And I think that is what 5G is going to look like. And I think we need to get moving, because the rest of the world is already...
4-year-old Charlotte Holmgren has a bedroom view that nearly everyone in Little Silver, New Jersey is talking about. Do you know what that is?
Tower.
This cell tower is just 120 feet from her home.
I'm scared to death that she's going to wake up with cancer or reproductive issues.
Charlotte's mother, Alicia Holmgren, says the 95-foot structure was built within a week in May, smack in the middle of town, with seemingly no warning to residents.
Homeowners in one Long Island town are preparing for a fight.
24 cell phone repeaters installed in front of their homes. It was done legally, but residents say they were never told that it was happening. CBS 2's Carolyn Gussoff reports now from Woodbury.
The view from Denise Tufano's Woodbury home abruptly changed last month, towering on her front lawn a cell phone repeater.
I could not believe this was actually happening. I said, how could the town permit this? How could they do this to us?
She and Woodbury neighbors fuming over the placement of 22 cell repeaters for Verizon in front of homes on what's technically public property without notice or compensation.
You couldn't give me $10 million for this, okay? There are potential health risks to these. They are aesthetically not pleasing. There's also the devaluation of our home properties.
5G technology promises faster service, but the jury is out on constant exposure to its radio frequency radiation. .5G technology promises faster service, but the jury is out on constant exposure to its radio frequency radiation.
Your cell phone you use, you put down. Microwave you use, you stop. This is constant bombardment, and we don't know what is the long-term effects.
Residents say their cell service was good enough.
Put them in a commercial area. We don't need it. And you know what? We should have at least been asked. I don't think the health of my children is as important as my cell phone service.
When CBS 2 asked the town of Oyster Bay supervisor why here, he showed up at this protest and was peppered with residents' demands.
They have no place in front of homes in residential neighborhoods.
Now, what about the ones that are already up? The ones that
Excuse me.
New to the Post, Joseph Saladino says the town's hands are tied by federal rules that cut local governments out. Town Supervisor Saladino vows to do everything in his power to get these taken down and prevent new ones from going up in front of homes. In his power, the operative words. In Woodbury, Long Island, Carolyn Gussoff, CBS 2 News.
Verizon tells CBS 2 to keep up with the explosive growth. They need the antennas closer to where people are trying to connect so that they will get better coverage. They claim that the small cells have exposure levels similar to baby monitors and microwave ovens.
California City is fighting back at a proposed law that is moving quickly through the legislature. They say it would allow phone companies to put up new antennas in your neighborhood, whether you like it or not. KPX5's Phil Matier in Walnut Creek. And Phil, today you heard some of the opposition in Sacramento, right?
That's right, and a lot of it is based on what you see around us here in Walnut Creek. You're walking down the street in the downtown of your little town, and you maybe one day will look up at a street lamp like this, and sitting on top of it is something totally unexpected, a cell phone antenna. Here's the story.
5G wireless has the potential to be a game changer.
But to pave the way for that game change, telecom companies need to put up between 30,000 and 50,000 of these small cell antennas, including several likely in your town over the next 5 years, but with only limited local say.
Local neighborhoods would be seeing something the size of a refrigerator showing up on a street pole, and they could say nothing to stop it.
A library, a school.
On traffic signals, on light poles. This would give the companies free rein to install these small cells on any public infrastructure, and we would have no ability to say no.
We're also talking about an industry that is a big player in California politics. In the 2016 election cycle, telecommunication companies contribute over $3 million to both California Democrats and Republicans that are now deciding on this bill, which, by the way, shot through committee on a 6-1 vote with 2 abstentions. It's going to be a tug of war, but it looks like they're going to win, so it's only a matter of time when we're going to be seeing these. By the way, you'll be able to check it all out on the internet because they're going to make that faster as well. In Walnut Creek, Phil Matier, KPIX5. Back to you guys.
Hi, this is John in Los Angeles. It's October 22nd, 2017. about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm at a park in Dominguez, California here. That was a little religious ceremony they got going down there. So I'm looking around the park, and I'm looking at this. Look at this. This is a microwave cell tower, guys, right out in the open, where anybody can walk up to it. People are being hit by it that are playing in the park and all this stuff. And I'm gonna show you the signs here, wide open. Look at this. You can freeze frame the video if you want to read some of this. I won't stay on it too long, but just take a look at this. Look at this. Yeah, you really want to salute this. They're microwaving the piss out of us all, and they're disguising it as this. This is what they do. They put the flag on things so you trust it. Well, I don't trust it, all right? Put the flag on things so you trust it. Well, I don't trust it.
Tour guide said that one of the reasons they wanted to build the data center in Utah was because of the patriotism of people from Utah.
Yeah, that was one of my questions is, why did you come here? And his response was, the electricity is cheap and the people are patriotic. And I read that as a code word, is that nobody's gonna ask any questions. And that kind of sat with me uneasily, that in my opinion, patriotism is questioning your government consistently. The idea that we're just sheep out here and we're not going to care, I think is, even though we're a very conservative state, I think a lot of people would bristle at that idea.
Put the flag on things so you trust it. Well, I don't trust it.
You may sign up to speak. You may, please leave. Please leave the room. Thank you. Please leave.
Shame on you. Tempers seemed to flare at the county school board meeting. This as board members heard from the public about putting up a cell tower on the grounds of Shadyside Elementary School.
You are the deciders. The process started here, the process tracks here, the process ends here.
Those opposed to the cell tower, some of them parents, say they have long-term health concerns. They were counting on the board to take action by casting a vote, even though it was only a review item.
As board members, please protect our children. We absolutely need you today to be brave.
Even as both sides lined up to be heard, it was evident there was still plenty of frustration. That's when the board had to call in security.
It's time for you to leave.
Thank you, I will, thank you.
There was public support for the Shadyside cell tower from residents who tried to convince the board of the benefits.
With the current storms brewing in the Atlantic this week, I think about safety. Will my cell phone work if I call for help? I think about safety. Will my cell phone work if I call for help or try to let my family know that I'm okay?
Please do not let the financial agenda of these small few in our community bully this board into backing out of this plan.
One board member called for a vote on the issue, even though he realized the item was only up for review.
Motion fails at this time.
That said, the cell tower proposal, now out of the hands of the school board, awaits an official permit. Now, looking beyond Shadyside, there are two other pending cell phone tower proposals, one of them on the grounds of school board headquarters. So what's the financial benefit? Last year, the school system collected a little more than $81,000. Live in the studio, Tim Tootin, WBAL, TV 11 News.
Of all the places in Shadyside, why are you trying to put a cell phone tower in my kid's playground? There's like 1,000 other places you can put a cell phone tower.
This is ground zero for the best possible opportunity to create. I understand, but the point I'm making is this. You're asking why I can't go somewhere else, right? You're asking why can't I go like a mile away or 2 miles away? The answer is this is the best place to fill the hole in the network. You're asking why can't I go like a mile away or 2 miles away? The answer is this is the best place to fill the hole in the network.
Really? There's really everywhere else in Shadyside. Shadyside. You're trying to tell me everywhere else in Shadyside, you can't get more than 200 feet from a building or somebody's property line or whatever. That's what you're trying to tell me?
And will you be guaranteed, that the school is, the cell tower is safe for us kids and we won't get some sort of cancer or anything like that? Because I don't want cancer.
Can I ask what grade you're in?
What?
What grade are you in?
5th.
You're in 5th grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going into 5th.
When my son was 9 years old, in the 3rd grade, he was diagnosed with leukemia. He went to a school where there was a cell tower within 300 or 400 feet from his elementary school, it's Forest Hill Elementary School in Fairfax County. So if there's anyone who can understand your concern, it's me. Because I'm a parent of a child who had cancer and survived cancer. And I can tell you that there is no credible evidence to demonstrate that my son got cancer from that cell tower. That there is no credible evidence to demonstrate that my son got cancer from that cell tower. Because the reality is that there's no evidence to show that God was harmed. And I wouldn't be the big that would cause harm. And I can tell you that there is no credible evidence to demonstrate that my son got cancer from that cell tower. Because the reality is that there's no evidence to show that God was harmed. And I wouldn't be the big that would cause harm.
Verizon cell tower will go up in Appleton. A judge ruled in favor of the company last week, but the city of Appleton and nearby neighbors are not happy with that decision. Fox 11's Alexa Santos has this Fox 11 follow-up.
It just doesn't belong there.
Neighbors near a proposed Verizon cell tower in Appleton are disappointed with a judge's decision to allow the company to build.
At the end of the day, nobody should be allowed to build a cell tower that close to a residential area.
The city of Appleton tried to stop it. The Common Council denied the permit for constructing the tower because of concerns from neighbors about safety and loss of property values.
They came forward and they really laid out their case. It was a pretty powerful case. So council said, no. See what happens. We'll take our chances.
In August, Verizon sued the city of Appleton over that decision. Outagamie County Judge Nancy Krieger ruled in favor of Verizon's claim that Appleton didn't provide enough evidence to support that permit denial, and those grounds are not valid for denying a permit.
We're definitely pleased with the outcome, and for us it really comes down to public safety. And for us it really comes down to public safety.
And I can tell you that there is no credible evidence to demonstrate that my son got cancer from that cell tower. Because the reality is that there's no evidence to show that God was harmed. And I wouldn't be the big that would cause harm.
And for us it really comes down to public safety.
Verizon says it wanted to fill in gaps in coverage in the Appleton area and also make sure people could use their phones in case of an emergency.
I think about safety. Will my cell phone work if I call for help or try to let my family know that I'm okay?
People living near St. Joseph's Church on Green Bay's south side are voicing their concerns, protesting this morning against a cell phone tower that will be built on church grounds. Protesters of this tower say there are several reasons they do not want the tower to be built there, including what they say are health risks, lowering the value of their property, and messing with televisions and radios on their homes. A staff member of the Quad Parishes told us some of the reasons the church agreed to having the cell phone tower on its property, including financial benefits.
Provide better cell phone coverage, and nowadays everybody has a cell phone, so that's one of the main things. It will be an evangelization tool for us. It's going to be a clock tower, and it will have our church name on all four sides, a cross on the top lit up so that people will know that there's a church here.
It's a terrible location to put up a 140-foot tall cell phone tower.
Willoughby Hills residents like Dan Valerian say they were stunned to learn their mayor approved a massive cell tower to be built here at this location on River Road without them even knowing it. A location residents say is all wrong.
The beauty of the Chagrin Valley on one side, residential areas all around you, a historic cemetery, a historic building, and you're just going to wedge this thing right in the middle of all that?
And some Willoughby Hills council members say the mayor broke the law by approving the project.
And to find out that the mayor had signed it months before the first meeting was held, I think that's just wrong. And frankly, at our December meeting, we asked the mayor, not once but twice, did you sign any agreement with Verizon or the representatives? He said no both times.
Did you sign this lease without consulting residents?
Yes, I did.
Did you sign this lease without consulting residents?
Yes, I did.
Mayor Robert Weger admitted he approved the project without talking to residents, but told me City Council was in on the deal. A deal that could have Willoughby Hills facing a lawsuit if it doesn't follow through.
It's got to go through 2 readings at the Planning Commission, and that hasn't happened yet.
Reporting here in Willoughby Hills, I'm News 5 investigator Joe Paganakis.
Residents in one of El Paso's oldest neighborhoods are speaking out against a proposed cell phone tower. KFOX 14 News at 9's Megan Lopez attended a Sunset Heights community meeting tonight to find out why they're so opposed to it. She joins us live in the studio to explain why residents say they don't want the tower. Megan.
Robert, people who live in the Sunset Heights Historic District say the 60-foot tall tower will be an eyesore. They say it doesn't belong in their community. The president of the Sunset Heights Neighborhood Improvement Association, Cito Negron, says the tower and the city is currently considering whether it wants to let Crown Castle build that tower for Verizon Wireless. These are some artistic renderings of what that tower could look like. Negron says that the company offered designs that would look like a Bhutanese structure to disguise the tower so it would resemble a UTEP design. But some of the residents I spoke with tonight say that's not enough.
Now, they talked about disguising it to look like a UTEP tower, you know? But this is not UTEP. This is Sunset Heights. If they want to put that over there by UTEP, you know, that's their decision.
It's not consistent with the integrity of the historic nature of the neighborhood.
It might not be to the benefit of anybody but the cell carrier and the property owner. It's definitely not to the benefit of the neighborhood.
Aside from being an eyesore, Negron tells me that the company has to get special permission to build that tower in that area because it's so close to some houses. Tonight, Sunset Heights residents met at Hal Marcus Gallery to discuss their options. Some have sent letters to the city's planning commission to ask for another area to be chosen for that tower. The city's planning commission is set to hear the cell phone tower proposal tomorrow afternoon. Reporting live, Megan Lopez, KFOX 14 News.
Every new generation of wireless networks delivers faster speeds and more functionality to our smartphones. 1G brought us the very first cell phones, 2G let us text for the first time, 3G brought us online, and 4G delivered the speeds that we enjoy today. But as more users come online, 4G networks have just about reached the limit of what they're capable of at a time when users want even more data for their smartphones and devices. Now we're headed toward 5G, the next generation of wireless. It will be able to handle 1,000 times more traffic than today's networks, and it'll be up to 10 times faster than 4G LTE. Just imagine downloading an HD movie in under a second, and then let your imagination run wild. world. 5G will be the foundation for virtual reality, autonomous driving, the Internet of Things, and stuff we can't even yet imagine. But what exactly is a 5G network? The truth is, experts can't tell us what 5G actually is because they don't even know yet. Your smartphone and other electronic devices in your home use very specific frequencies on the radio frequency spectrum, typically those under 6 gigahertz. But these frequencies are starting to get more crowded. Carriers can only squeeze so many bits of data on the same amount of radio frequency spectrum. As more devices come online, we're going to start to see slower service and more dropped connections. The solution is to open up some new real estate. So researchers are experimenting with broadcasting on shorter millimeter waves, those that fall between 30 and 300 gigahertz. This section of spectrum has never been used before for mobile devices, and opening it up means more bandwidth for everyone. But there is a catch. Millimeter waves can't travel well through buildings or other obstacles, and they tend to be absorbed by plants and rain. To get around this problem, we'll need technology number 2, small cell networks. Today's wireless networks rely on large, high-powered cell towers to broadcast their signals over long distances. But remember, higher frequency millimeter waves have a harder time traveling through obstacles, which means if you move behind one, you lose your signal. Small cell networks would solve that problem, using thousands of low-power mini base stations. These base stations would be much closer together than traditional towers, forming a sort of relay team to transmit signals around obstacles.
We know people are already getting sick from the lower frequencies, and we expect, that is our scientists expect, that these higher, ultra-high frequency microwaves are going to bring people to disease quicker and in a more intense form. The other problem with 5G technology is these microwaves are very short. So our old microwaves were about 2.5 to 3 feet long. These are now about 1 inch to ½ an inch long. And they don't travel very well. So they're going to have to put a little cell tower transmitter in front of about every 2 to 10 homes. Now this is a big problem because we know that cancer rates around regular cell towers are about 3 or 4 times what they normally should be. We also know that there's neurological symptoms that increase as you get closer and closer to a cell tower. Now these new transmitters are going to be placed close to people's homes. It's going to be continuous exposure as with other cell towers, but it'll be emitting a much more higher frequency, high intensity wireless radiation.
From documents dating back into the early 80s, we see that the military had discussed the possibilities of mind control through radio frequency energy. The possibility is there. The military has studied it.
A 1982 Air Force report called radio frequency energy a major new research initiative and said that RF can, quote, disrupt normal purposeful behavior. A 1987 military report called for more research on RF energy as a non-lethal weapon, while pointing out that most of the existing technology is classified. And sure enough, in 1993, there was a big conference at Johns Hopkins University. Here, the entire conference was classified. But the agenda wasn't, and weapons using extremely low radio frequencies, or ELFs, were listed as a very attractive option.
This document from Maxwell Air Force Base lays out the use of electromagnetic weapons technologies for debilitating human beings. Using electromagnetic warfare against human beings, you can cause disease, you can cause hysteria, or you can cause passivity for population control.
Extremely low frequencies affect us because they are the same frequencies that our brains output. And when they're in the environment around us, our brains try to entrain to them. So our brains try to mimic those signals. And if those signals are not good ones for our behavior, then we can fall apart. We can behave differently. We could get sick. We could feel very stressed and not know why.
If we could ever learn how to electronically stroke the ionosphere, this layer that begins about 30 miles above the Earth's surface that's electrically charged, if we could ever figure out how to electronically stroke it, he said, to get it to send a signal back to the Earth, we could affect the behavior of people over huge geographic areas on a hemispheric basis. And it wouldn't affect everyone. It would affect 70 or 80% of the population is what they more or less figured. But this was a technology that didn't exist in 1969.
Suppose you generate a field that produces fear, fundamental fear, in large numbers of people. And then over the television, more traditional ways, you say, the reason we're having this fear is because of this particular group. And now you start to move the population believing in a direction that you wish.
To influence 250 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of the United States, may not be that difficult. According to Dr. Persinger, we already have the technology.
Well, it's a never-ending battle, preserving history as growth swallows it up. People living in historic Raleigh neighborhoods are worried about cell phone towers going up in their area.
And for us, it really comes down to public safety.